Despite being an incredibly Democrat state, it appears that something is brewing in New York. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video, and today it is time to talk about the 2024 presidential election because everyone, it appears that something is happening in the state of New York. Now, I am not saying that Trump's gonna win New York. Hell, I'm not even saying that it's gonna be, down the wire, it's gonna be within a point. I'm not saying that. But the response that Trump got when he campaigned in New York City and brand new polling data demonstrates that, hey, maybe there might actually be some signs of hope for the state. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Again, folks, all support is greatly appreciated, and yeah. Now let us get into it because this is just stunning that we're even talking about New York. I mean, think about it. Back in 2020, Biden won the state by 23 points. Why are we talking about it? Well, because of what happened back in 2022. To this day, I am still shocked at how good Zeldin did. I mean, think about it. Lee Zeldin, despite being in a Biden plus 20 state, nearly won this governorship. Not only that, but he single-handedly saved the Republicans in the House. Something happened in New York that everyone wrote off as a fluke. That, oh, this red wave was a fluke. It's a one-off. Nothing's happening. Well, we've been getting a lot of polling out of the state for months now. Hell, even years. And Trump is doing significantly better in the state. Like, he's not just doing 1 point better. Many polls have him doing like 5, 10, hell, even 15 points better in the state. Now, many people have been writing off what's happening in New York as a fluke, oh, it's a one-off, all of that. Because of one city, New York City. This is why everyone, when they talk about New York, they just really don't talk about it. But when they do, they say, well, there's no point of talking about it because New York City single-handedly decides who wins. Unless Republicans got like, a 70-point victory in Long Island, they swept everything upstate. Still, even in that situation, you probably would lose the state of New York. That's how important the city is. Well, something is happening not just in the state, but in particular, the city of New York. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but there's a legitimate chance Trump does 15, 20 points better in the city. I know that sounds just crazy, like, what the hell are you talking about? How can he do that much better? Listen, I am still not saying, or hell, I'm not even fully convinced that Trump is going to do 50 points better in the state. But there is evidence to back the idea up that, hey, maybe there is something brewing in the state of New York, especially in New York City. Now, for those that don't know, a couple days ago, after Trump was in court for like 8 hours or whatever, he did a campaign stop in Harlem. An area that's like, what, 10% white? I mean, it's like 80% Hispanic and African American combined. It is a super diverse part of the city. Right? Harlem, New York. Everyone knows about it. He stopped at a bodega. And the reception he got was stunning. I'm not saying there was 50,000 people there, but there probably was at least, a couple hundred at the bare minimum, maybe even 1,000. There were a ton of people there chanting 4 more years, Trump 2024. I mean, think about that for a second. This wasn't an official rally. Yes, it was a campaign stop, but it wasn't, one of Trump's famous rallies. Yet, at a bodega stop, Trump was able to get like a couple hundred people, which is a couple hundred people more than Biden usually gets at a campaign rally. He got that at a bodega in Harlem, New York. Which is, again, like, what, 10% white? And, like, what, 2% Republican? And he got that type of turnout for an unofficial campaign stop. And if I remember correctly, this was put together in like 5 minutes, it wasn't announced 2 weeks beforehand. I think it was just a last second thing. And a bunch of people pulled up to see Trump. No other Republican can do this. Can you imagine if DeSantis or hell, Nikki Haley did the same thing? Not only would no one show up to this event, but they probably get booed out of the city. But somehow Trump was able to get chance of 4 more years, we love Trump and all of that. Hell, if this was a Democrat like Biden, I don't think he would draw a crowd. But Trump, for whatever reason, was able to do so. In a short notice campaign stop at a bodega that was put together like 5 minutes beforehand. Yet hundreds of people showed up. But you could say, well, that's just, subjective. You could say maybe that's a bunch of people from Staten Island that, they went there to go visit Trump. Maybe that's the case. Which I would say that's a legitimate argument. But there was a brand new poll from the city of New York. Just the city. And look at this. Just look at the Bronx. Trump is losing the Bronx by 27 points, right? He's at 25%. Back in 2020, Trump got 16% here, and he lost it by 68 points. Lee Zeldin, who, mind you, lost the statewide vote by like 6.5 points, got 22% in the Bronx. So that means, according to this poll, which, it could be wrong, whatever, Trump is getting a larger vote share than Lee Zeldin got. Now, as for the other boroughs, Queens he's doing way better in. He's at 27% in 2020. He's currently at 35%. Manhattan is about the same, but he still is doing roughly a point better. Oddly enough, he's doing worse in Brooklyn. So that's the one borough. Hell, even Staten Island he's doing a point better in. Staten Island he's at 58%. He's doing better in 4 of the 5 boroughs, but the biggest swing is coming from the Bronx. The fact that he's getting a larger vote share in this borough than Zeldin is absolutely stunning. Think about that for a minute. Zeldin lost by 6.5 points statewide, but Trump is currently doing better in one of the boroughs than Zeldin. And he's only doing like 2 points worse in Queens. But remember, this is with a bunch of undecideds that, granted, they're going to vote for Biden, but would you really be surprised if Trump wins over a couple of these undecided voters? Would you? I think it's possible. I really think that there's a good chance Trump is going to win over a chunk of these voters. But I was curious, okay, let's assume that the undecideds break in a specific way, that the margins you got here, like the Bronx is Biden plus 27, Brooklyn plus 39, etc. Let's say these were the margins in 2024. I still doubt that's going to happen, but I was curious. And I decided, okay, let's put this on Election Shuffler to see what the results statewide would be, including the swings we saw back in 2022. So this is the shift map in New York. According to this math, if the rest of the state swings the exact same as it did in 2022, Trump would only lose the state by 5. And that's, of course, including, the boroughs swinging the exact same, according to this poll. But you get the point. Trump would only lose by 5. That's an 18-point swing from 2020. In other words, Trump would do better than Zeldin in the state of New York. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. No one should expect this. But this is the current data we got. And this is based off of what's happening in New York. Trump's doing campaign events in Harlem, a Biden plus 90 part of the city. Either way, there is something happening in the state, but especially in the city of New York. Now, I'm not saying that Trump's going to win New York for sure or anything like that. No one should expect that. But the fact that Trump is doing this good in New York based on the polling, based on the reception he's getting in the city, I think there is a chance that he does a lot better than people expect. Now, what should Trump do about this? Should he campaign here? Honestly, I think he should. Now, I'm not saying do 15 campaign events up and down the state, but I think if he does, one or two rallies here, maybe a couple more stops like this was, I don't see it hurting him. And I think there are two net positives to doing events in New York. One, there are some must-win House races in the state. For example, Mark Molinaro, Michael Lawler. Now, I'm not saying, you should do 15 rallies for each of them, but it can't hurt to do a couple events here and there to boost your support and therefore help Republicans down ballot. Because if Trump really does do 15 points better in the state, or 18 or whatever, that would help Republicans up and down the ballot. But that's the first reason. The second reason is simple. Make Democrats spend in the state. Because if they're forced to spend money in New York, which, mind you, that's a big media market. That's going to be a lot of money. And that's resources that could have gone towards states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, hell, even a state like North Carolina. That's money being wasted on a state that, more than likely, they're still going to win, even if it becomes a lot closer. There are a bunch of positives. Now, like I said, don't spend your entire time in the state. I think that's a waste of time. But a quick pit stop like this is not a bad idea. Because, A, it's not going to be the end of the world if he spends 1 or 2 days in the city, especially with all the court stuff. But number two, he's the only Republican that I could think of that campaigns in a place like Harlem. Or hell, even most Democrats. No one campaigns here. Hell, no one campaigns in really any part of the city. Hell, no one really campaigns even in New York. Because you know how it's going to vote. It might be different, and I think it will be different. It's still going to be a Democrat state, but if Trump does, 15 or 18 points better, that's a significant shift. I mean, you're talking about a state that hasn't voted Republican, at least at the presidential level, in decades. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.